Hey, it's good to talk to all you people. Today is, let's see, what is today? Today's Thursday. You'll probably get this in the next couple of days or so. And I know there's a lot of heat, obviously, going on around the country, even around us. Probably not as much as when I have a good friend who lives in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm still amazed. He loves it out there. Even in the summer, he goes walking and biking, even in hot weather, 150 degrees. I said, "You're nuts." He comes from an Italian background, and he said that was just his heritage, that the warmth doesn't bother him. In fact, he likes to get out in it. Not me. But anyway, that's just quickly saying I found a long time ago a reflection in the internet, and there's a lot of good things we can find there. And this one's bicycling with God, because I think of my buddy. He does bicycle, and he is very prayerful. He says when he's out in the mountains and everything, he has a sense of wonder, a sense of awe, a sense of creation. This touches on that in some way, but it's really meant to be a metaphor with how we live our life. A lot of you know that just recently I celebrated 50 years as a priest, ordained. And in a way, when I look back, and I was in a bicycling period of time, a little earlier, my knees and legs aren't as good at being able to do that, although I do other exercises. But I come back to this perspective called bicycling with God. I didn't write it. It was in the internet. It reminds us we can find some good things here. I'm going to read it. This is how it goes. Bicycling with God. One person's spiritual perspective. At first I saw God as my observer, my judge, keeping track of the things I did wrong so as to know whether I merited heaven or hell when I die. He was out there sort of like the president. I recognized his picture when I saw it, but I didn't really know him. But later on, when I recognized my higher power, it seemed as though life was rather like a bike ride. But it was a tandem bike, and I noticed that God was in the back helping me pedal. I don't know when it was just that he suggested we change places, but life has not been the same since. Life with my higher power, that is, God. God who makes life exciting. When I had control, I knew the way. It was rather boring, but predictable. It was the shortest distance between 2 points. But when he took the lead, he knew delightful ways of long cuts up mountains and through rocky places and at breakneck speeds. It was all I could do to hang on. Even though it looked like madness, he said, "Pedal." I worried and was anxious and asked him, "Where are you taking me?" He laughed and didn't answer and started to learn to trust. I forgot my boring life and entered into the adventure. And when I'd say, "I'm scared," he'd lean back and touch my hand. He took me to people with gifts that I needed, gifts of healing, acceptance, and joy. They gave me their gifts to take on my journey, our journey, God's and mine, and we were off again. He said, "Give the gifts away. They're extra baggage, too much weight." So I did to the people we met, and I found that in giving I received, and still my burden was light. I did not trust him at first in control of my life. I thought he'd wreck it. But he knows bike secrets, knows how to make it bend to take sharp corners, jump to clear high rocks, fly to short and scary passages. And I am learning to shut up and pedal in the strangest places. And I'm beginning to enjoy the views and the cool breeze on my face with my delightful constant companion, my higher power, God. And when I'm sure I just can't do any more, he just smiles and says, "Pedal." Well, yeah. There's a lot in there, isn't there? And one of the things that struck me in this reflection when I read it years ago and kept it mindful in my years of ministry is that I remember early on, I would get too caught up in how much I had to control. Control the day, control this situation, control how this course went, control how people looked at life, all those things. That fine line between wanting to be someone who encourages people, who helps people in their own way to see goodness and God and light, but that notion of having to control early on to make sure I touch lives and they found the Lord just as I showed them, that I remember too much of my ego was in that. It was like, oh, yes, here's what I did and here's how many people's lives were touched. And then sometimes when I remember a few people that would come to the Lord, we'd talk, and a month later they had gone away from the Lord. And I remember being upset about that and trying to control that they get right back to the Lord the way I taught them to right away. Again, we are called to be an influence, but the influence needs to be our God's influence. And so when I read this several years ago, it just really struck me that, Norm, you don't control it. You stay open, you're led, you let the Lord influence you, and let his influence work through you in the lives of other people, not trying to do it yourself, not trying to say, well, look what I did to make this person's life better. That can be frustrating. So I learned long ago to let go of that. One, because if they're doing well, I could take the credit and remember, wait a second, it's the Lord. And two, if they're not doing well, I can be upset because they should be doing well. Look at all I did for them, rather than saying, Lord, I give them to you. If they're going to be touched in any way, to be influenced by you, not me. So something to think about as we're in this summertime. Maybe you do go bicycling. Maybe you're like me, you look back and even there, you wish you could bicycle again. On the other hand, what this simple metaphor tells us all is that each day is a gift. We need to be open to the Lord in days that are too hot, too cold, too whatever. Attitude is important in all of this. The attitude. We can't always control what the circumstances we find ourselves in life, but we can control the attitude we take towards circumstances, especially when we let the Lord lead the way, let the Lord be our most important influence, and let the Lord work through us, sometimes even in spite of our ego, to touch other people's lives and give them the kind of joy and hope and peace and exciting adventure in life that only He can ultimately bring. Have a good day. Have an adventurous summer. Bicycle, walk, run, do whatever you need to do, and do it prayerfully with that sense that the Lord is with you and with me in it all.